right, let's open up with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem, where our temple was and where our temple in Hamashiach shall return. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yasharal, we thank you once again for the opportunity to come together and to where two or three or more gather in your name, there you are in the midst. We thank you for your spirit, and we ask that you allowed us to borrow of your spirit of understanding, Yah, not for knowledge's sake, for puffed up sake, but for our guidance, so that we could utilize this grace period as it rapidly approaches an end, Yah, to get to a place that can be glory unto you, so the rest of the nations can see that you have name and people here on this earth, Yah. So we ask that you open up your calendar unto us, Yah. Show us your way. You said, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven, Yah. So show us your way in heaven so that we can willfully show you our obedience and gather on your days, Yah. Yah, we ask that if we make errors in our calculations, that you send somebody to help push us in the right direction, Yah. A humble servant that we can learn from. And Yah, if we be error, Yah, let it be us and not your word. But we come together with the best of our understanding according to your commandment, your greatest commandment, with all your heart, all your strength and your mind, Yah. So we give you all that we have to glorify you through our obedience. Yah, these things we thank and pray not only for us, but we pray for all your children across the corners of the earth, Yah, that they receive your spirit of understanding to your chosen that you have allowed, Yah, to receive of this spirit. These things we thank and pray through Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen. Amen. All right, shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharal. I'm with my brother Wesley Yasharal. And we are Savior Word of Yah. And we are in our weekly Bible study. And excuse me. And this past Shabbat, we went over the months, calculating the months of the year, the new year, and seasons. And this Bible study, we're going over the holy days, and the title of the class, Marking the Moadim. Marking the Moadim. So in order to calculate your holy days, you have to know when your months start, when the year starts. And you need to know your seasons, so forth and so on. So we went over that. Now we have our new months. We have our little calendar where we marked all the new months according to Enoch, the ancient calendar system, based off the equilux. So we have that. So once we have that, now we can go in and we can see, well, what is the 14th day? What is the 15th day? And what holy days correspond to it? So we're going to open up first in Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus 23 has all the holy days of Yah, all his appointed times. If his time is not in here, then this wasn't his time. Then this is somebody else who originated it.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them concerning the feast of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
All right, so in verse 2, he's saying, Speak to us concerning the feast. So when we see that concerning the feast, we think a feast, we sit down, we're going to eat. That's a feast. Well, let's see what that Hebrew word was. The Hebrew word that was there, where it says concerning the feasts, is Moadim, which is H4150, Moadim. And that is spelled Moed. And that's an appointment. That is a fixed time or season, specifically a festival, conventionally a year, by implication an assembly, a place of meeting, also a signal, appointed, a congregation, a season, appointed time. So this is an appointed time. So speak to the children of Yasharal concerning the appointed times of Yah. So this is why it's called marking the Moadim, marking the appointed times of Yah. Now there's another word that's used for feasts when it's talking about a feast, a completely different Hebrew word. Go ahead, bro.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Shabbat of Yahweh in all your dwellings.
All right, so notice the first holy day he goes over is the Shabbat, because that's the first appointed time. That's the first appointed time he appointed. The first thing he did after he finished working, he said, I hallow the seventh day. I set this day apart. Everybody will rest. So this is an appointed time. Go ahead, bro.
These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. But you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the seventh day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work.
All right, so they went over 3 holy days so far. You have Shabbat, which is an appointed time. And then now you have Passover, Pesach, which is an appointed time. And then you have Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is another appointed time. So Passover in Hebrew is Pesach, which is H6453. Pesach. That's spelled Pesach. And that's a pretermission mission. That is exemption. The Passover festival. So that's Pesach. So this is the 14th of Aviv. So what you need to do is you have to understand when the Hebrew New Year starts. So if you don't know how to calculate that, you can go back to our last class that we did on Shabbat, and you can see how to calculate when the New Year starts. So according to what we worked out, the New Year would be the night of Tuesday, March 10th. So March 10th at night, that would be Hebrew New Year. So to get Pesach, you have to go to the 14th day. So March 10th being the first day, you're going to count to 14. Is there another clue over here? You're going to count to 14. So you have March 10th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what day do you arrive to?
I got March 24th.
Will, you got something to write with? You got,
Looking at that bag should be enough.
so we have March 23rd. March 23rd. So March 23rd at night is the 14th. That's Pesach. Now, when you actually keep the 24th, so you start from when the new year starts, Rosh Hashanah, which is March 10th, and you're going to count to the 14th day. But you have to make sure you count that new month. That's the first day of the month. So you have to use that as 1. And when you count 14 over, that'll bring you to the 23rd for Pesach. Then the 15th is the 24th of March. That's your first day of unleavened bread. And we read that the first day of unleavened bread is a holy convocation. That means March 23rd, you're not permitted work. It is a Sabbathon. You're supposed to take that day off. And then, the 24th. The 24th is a Sabbathon. You have to take that day off. So the 24th at night, if you work at night, the 24th at night, you would have to take that off. If you work in the daytime, then the 25th you would have to take off, because remember, the day starts at night. So the 15th would start on the 24th, and the daytime portion would be the daytime portion of Wednesday the 25th. That's the first day of unleavened bread. And that feast is for 7 days, according to what we just read. So that means all the feast days would be all the way to the 30th. The 30th will be your day 7 of unleavened bread, which they said is also a holy convocation. So that day you are not permitted to work as well. And that's in verse 8. The 7th day is a holy convocation. So that means you'd have to take off Tuesday the 31st if you work during the day. Or if you work at night, you would be taking off Monday the 30th at night. All right, so once you go through verse 8, now you're going into another holy day. All right, so you're at verse 9.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 9. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, When you be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Shabbat, the priest shall wave it.
All right, so this is a holy day that is misunderstood by a lot of people. First fruits, first of all, the Jewish people, they do first fruits on the 16th of Abib. So you have the 14th will be Passover. The 15th will be your day 1 of unleavened bread, which is a Sabbathon, not a Sabbath. It's a Sabbathon, which means it's a day treated like a Sabbath. And then they say they count that as the Sabbath and say the morrow after that. And they say the 16th of Abib. They say that is first fruits. But when you read the rest of what you need to do on first fruits, you'll see clearly that it can't be during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It has to be outside of the Feast of Unleavened Bread according to the rites of the Feast of First Fruits. And then you see clearly in verse 9, it's already, and Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, so he's starting a whole new thought. He's not still talking about the same holy day. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And you shall offer that day when you wave the sheaf of a he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto Yahweh. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. And you shall eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
All right, so that's the number one clue to let you know it can't be during unleavened bread. Because it's saying until you do this first fruits offering, you can't eat bread. First of all, you can't eat bread anyways during the week of unleavened bread. And this Hebrew word is lachaim, which which is physical leavened bread. Because if it was unleavened bread, it would have been the word matzah. They didn't use the word matzah. They used lahaim. So that means it's a real loaf of bread. So you can't eat bread during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So this would make absolutely no sense if you put this inside the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So the Sabbath that they're talking about is the Sabbath that comes after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So if you go back to your calendar, the last day of unleavened bread, the seventh day, is the 30th. So that would make the first Shabbat coming up would be the 4th of April. That is when your first fruits would be. It would be the 4th of April at night. Because remember, Saturday night begins Sunday. And for first fruits, it says the morrow after, verse 11, the morrow after the Shabbat, the priest waves the first fruit. So that the morrow after the Shabbat is what's the morrow after Shabbat?
First day.
It's always the first day. Every time you have a Shabbat, the next day from now until eternity is going to be the first day. That's just how it is. So you know that first fruits is that Saturday night, April 4th. Outside of unleavened bread, you had your whole unleavened bread, and now you have a feast of first fruits happening the morrow after the Shabbat. All right, now that's important because if you don't calculate your first fruits properly in the wrong week, you're going to mess up your Pentecost, because Pentecost is going to be based off of when you do your first fruits. So it's important that you understand when to do that so you can make sure that you're calculating your Pentecost properly. Now, somehow the Catholic Church and the Christian Church know how to figure it out because they calculate it. They always get theirs on the first day. It's always on a Sunday, Pentecost Sunday. So how is it Pentecost Sunday if it's supposed to be the morrow after the Shabbat? So if it's a morrow after your Shabbat, it would be Monday, Pentecost Monday. But no, they have it on Sunday because they know when the real Sabbath is. Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 15. And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Shabbats shall be complete.
All right, so you see verse 15. You shall count unto you from the day after the Shabbat, from the day that you brought the sheaf. So from that day that you did unleavened bread, 7 Shabbats shall be complete. So you go back to your calendar. April 4th is when we do our Feast of First Fruits. That's when the sheaf is waved. So 7 Sabbaths. You have to count 7 Sabbaths from there. That's giving you 49. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what would be 7 Shabbats?
From April 4th?
Yeah. You want to count 7 Shabbats from April 4th. Because it said, verse 15, you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat. So the morrow after the Shabbat is the first day, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. So the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, which is going to be a first day, 7 Sabbaths after that.
May 23rd.
Right, May 23rd. So that brings you to May 23rd. That's the 7 Sabbaths. Then now you go to verse 15. Go ahead. Or excuse me, 16.
Even unto the morrow after the 7th Shabbat shall you number 50 days, and you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh.
All right, so 7 Shabbats. 7 Shabbats with 7 days a week give us how many days?
49.
49. So 7 Shabbats gives you 49, but then here, what you're reading is 50. You shall number 50 days, so that means it's the day after the Shabbat, which would be 50 days. First day, so you know it's another first day feast.
Pentecost.
Right, so the 23rd. So the night, because its first day starts Saturday night. So 23rd at night, that is your Pentecost. Now hold your place right there. We're gonna prove that we're calculating this properly because we're gonna go into Jubilees. And we're gonna see in Jubilees how even Abram was able to keep Pentecost in the middle of the 3rd month, which matches exactly where we're keeping it. If you are calculating your months properly, it's exactly in the middle of the 3rd month. It said, did Yahshua rise on the feast of first fruit? No, he did not. He did not rise on the feast of first fruit because he was in the grave 3 full days and 3 full nights. And you had to have your whole feast of unleavened bread first, which is 7 full days. So it wouldn't fit in there. Now, what happened was he was waived before the Father on Feast of First Fruit. That's what that is. You're taking the first fruits, the best of your Bikorim, or what you have, and it's waved before the Father. The priest waves it. But he was the high priest, and he was the first fruit offering before the Father. He was in heaven at that time. The Spirit was, at least.
We're going to Jubilees.
Yeah, so we're going to Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 15. Yovelum chapter 15. So you always want to find 2 witnesses anytime you look at something. So like when we're looking at Jubilees and you read and it says, oh, in the middle of the 3rd month, how are you going to reference that? How do you know that that's correct? Because it's not Torah. So if it matches what we're getting in Torah, then there's your witness. So Yobelum, Jubilees, chapter 15, and we're going to start that at verse 1. And if you don't have access to Jubilees, you can always go to IsraeliteGathering.com and go under books and Bibles, and you can get free access to anything that we'll read out of. You can either look at it online for free or download it for free.
Jubilees chapter 1. Chapter 15, verse 1. And in the 5th year of the 4th week of this Jubilee, in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, Abram celebrated the feast of the first fruits of the grain harvest.
All right, so he celebrated the feast of first fruits of the grain harvest. So this is the middle of the 3rd month. What is the first month? The first month, first fruits. What are they offering then? Anybody know? Barley. Remember, they're waiting on the barley to turn green.
Okay.
So that's what they sacrifice in the first month. Excuse me, not sacrifice. That's what they're offering up in the first month is the barley. In the 3rd month is the summertime. Now they're doing the grain. They're doing like wheat, and they're doing that type of harvest. That's in the 3rd month. That's in the summertime almost. That's right before the summertime. So this is the middle of the 3rd month. So if we go look at our holy day calendar and we say, when does the 3rd month start on our calendar?
May 9th.
May 9th. So count what's half of 30.
15.
Count 15 days out and see where you get. That would be the middle of the 3rd month.
May 24th.
Exactly. May 24th. May 23rd, the night of May 23rd, 24th. That's the middle of the 3rd month. That's literally Feast of First Fruits. Pentecost. Pentecost is a Feast of First Fruits. Each harvest, you have to have a Feast of First Fruits. You have the first one, which is the Feast of First Fruit, the actual Feast of First Fruits. Then you have the second one, which is this one, Shabbat, Pentecost, where you're harvesting your wheat. And then you have your last one, which is end gathering, where I believe that's your grapes or something of that nature, where you're doing like the wine or something like that. That's the third harvest. So each of them has a specific time. So Abram, this is way before Yah has given this law. He is doing his first fruits. He's keeping Feast of First Fruits. How is that? How does he know to do this? Obviously, this was passed down from Enoch to Noah and then further down, and it went all the way until it got to Abram. How else would he know to do that? All right, so that's all I wanted to read right there. In the middle of the 3rd month, he's keeping the Feast of First Fruits. We are keeping Feast of First Fruits in the middle of the third month. We are doing the same thing Abram did. Abram was found righteous because he believed. We believe in what the word says. The word says in this time, 7 Shabbats from this time, and you're supposed to wave the sheep on this. We believe that. So we calculate based on that. All right, let's go back. Now, with these offerings, there's also appearances. Like we said, with those 3 offerings that are done throughout the year, there's also appearances. So we're gonna go over that. We're gonna look at the law regarding that. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Devarim chapter 16. We're just gonna read 2 verses there. Deuteronomy chapter 16. And what people will confuse is they'll confuse your free will offering, which we're about to see, those 3 offerings. And they confuse that with your first fruits offering. That's completely different. Completely different. Because your first fruits offering, when we read that, you're offering a sheaf. A sheaf is an omer. That's a dry measure. That's offer what you can. If you got a whole lot, you gave a whole lot. If you got a little, you gave a little. That's free will offering. But a sheaf is the same for everybody. I don't care if you did really great or you did okay. You had to offer a sheaf of the best of what you had. A sheaf. So those are different types of offerings. So that's letting you know those are different situations going on. So now we're looking at the appearances where you're going to have free will offerings, which could be a sheaf, could be way more than a sheaf, could be barely anything. It says every man must give as he is able to. Didn't say that with first fruits. Said, look, you're going to offer a sheaf. So Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 16 through 17.
"3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose. In the feast."
Right. So 3 times in a year shall all your males appear. So Yah said, look, 3 times a year I need all my men to show up and come before me. Because I'm the King of Kings. I'm your creator. I'm the Alpha and Omega. I'm the Most High. You come this day. Now, if we belong to him, that's the days we show up. We show up on those days. All right? And he's telling us what days those are. And he said, all your males. Why would he say all your males and not just, some of the single mothers or whatever? Why is he saying all your males?
They're the heads of families.
Right, because they represent the families. But if all the males are there, where do you think the women at?
With them.
Yeah, they there.
Right.
They outside the temple because that's where the women were, but they were there. They just weren't going before Yah, representing as the priests of the house. That wasn't their job, but they were there. It wasn't like it was, oh, I'm only going to deal with the males, or I don't care about my daughters. What man thinks like that? So if man don't think like that, Yah has even more love. He's not going to just say, 3 times a year I don't care about women. What? What kind of guy would that be? Definitely not of Israel. But he's saying, look, all males, look, I need the heads of your households. Just like we say, every week I need all the managers to round up in here. We're going to make sure things are organized. Well, he's saying, look, I'm lining up all the males. I want to make sure my households are organized. Everything's on point. We know when these holy days are. How was your harvest? How was your free will? You should be blessed. You're keeping the commandments. Come together. So here are the 3 days that he says to come together.
"In the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Yahweh empty."
All right, so there's the 3 feasts. In the feast of unleavened bread, so on that first day of the feast of unleavened bread, that's the day that you make that offering. You're giving a free will offering before the Most High on that first day. That's what you're supposed to offer. That's not first fruits. First fruits is something else. All right. Then the second one is in your feast of weeks. 7 Shabbats shall be complete. That's weeks. Shabbat is Shabuah. Weeks. Weeks. So those 7 weeks, that's Feast of Weeks. That's your second appearance. So on that Sabbathon, when you're taking off, all males must appear. And then that last one is in Tabernacles, which is the same thing on the first day of Tabernacles, which we're going to get to after this. All males must appear. And you're doing a free will offering. It says, none must show up empty-handed. Well, when you, if you ever visit the White House or look at a video of the inside the White House, you're going to see all these gifts and these foreign things in there that, like a traveler went and just visited all these exotic places and brought these beautiful things. Where do you think they got that from? You think the president went out there with his credit card and was just buying stuff? He went to, rooms to go and, he ordered a whole, let me get the White House package. Nah. These are when you come before the King of America, which is the president, you don't come empty-handed, you come with gifts. So these are the nations coming with gifts. These are the people coming with gifts. Here's a jersey that says, Trump, a Patriots jersey. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. They come with gifts. So if you do that to man, you think you're going to show up before YAH on his days? He said only 3 times out the whole year do I need all you to come. All of you got to show up. And you show up empty-handed after all the blessings that he's given you in your life? In tradition, they would usually give that to the priest. The priest would accept it for the people, because what the Levites would do is they would take whatever it is, they would take care of their families because they didn't get an inheritance, they didn't get land to plant and do all that stuff. So they would take it and they would put it in the storehouse. They would feed their families, and the rest would be for the poor and the widows and so forth and so on. Nowadays, you have a lot of priests, you have a lot of teachers and assemblies and stuff like that. So if you give it to them and they take it and they're going to apply it to the assembly, that's fine. But whatever you do, you need to offer something to the Most High, and that is the memorial, the memorial of the offering, because we're not in that Levitical order. It's just memorializing it by saying, "Yah, you bless me, I'm going to give." But what you definitely have to give is the best offering, the perfect offering, and the perfect offering you can give is you. You offer yourself. The best of what you have, that's going to you. That's my free will. Well, guess what? I'm a great writer. So I'm going to write something excellent to benefit Yah. An excellent write-up about understanding the feast days, or understanding, Mashiach, or whatever the case may be. That's your first fruits. That's your real offering. He don't need your food and your money and all. He don't need that. The people need that, though. All right, read verse 17.
Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 17. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you.
All right, so you give according to the blessing. So if Yah blessed you a lot, you give a lot. Because guess what? That's showing faith. Yah, I know you did this, not me. So I'm going to give you the best because I know you're going to bless me with even more abundance. And that's why you give without asking, because you don't want man to repay you. You want Yah to repay you because he's going to repay you well above. Now, if you are not appreciative and you feel like, nah, everything that was given to me is for me, and that the blessing that Yah gave you isn't to benefit your nation and your people, then you just gave a little bit. Then Yah going to deal with you the following year, and then you wonder why you having a drought, why things ain't working out. Because you felt that was yours. That's the same principle as the parable of the man who built the bigger barn. Because he said, wow, I got so much stuff, I can't fit it in this barn. I'm going to build me a bigger barn. What? You mean you got all this stuff and you got poor people out here in the gates starving and begging you, and you building a bigger barn to store your stuff? You failed. He said that night, that day, his life was required of him. So like I mention the statement all the time, some of the best thing for us is that we weren't rich. That Yah didn't make us rich. Because then we would, we'd be only caring about us. We won't even understand half the concept. But because we went through the struggle and we can't get to certain types of problems, we were saved by that. So we have to get out of that mentality so that he get that poverty mindset so he can really bless us. We're holding him back from blessing us. He don't want to kill us. If half of us won $1 million, we'd probably kill ourselves. We'd be the first dude smoke himself to death. Like the first guy in history who actually smoked himself to death. You'd be that guy because you just had so much money. Caught lung cancer in a day. The scientists are baffled. His only way this could have been is he would have had to smoke 100 blunts in 1 hour. And he did it. Come on. All right, so that's what we wanted to read there. Let's go back to Leviticus 23. Let's get back to Pentecost. All right, so the 7 Sabbaths should be complete. Let's read that again. Start from verse 15.
And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering.
That's
7
first fruits. From the day that you did first fruits. Go ahead.
7 Shabbat shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Shabbat shall you number 50 days, and you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh.
All right, so that will bring you down to the night of March 23rd. That is your Pentecost, Shavuot. All right, so what happens on that day?
You shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yahweh.
Mm-hmm. So anytime you had those feast days, they had leavened bread. That's what they were eating. So this is what you would have ate on first fruits. You would have had leavened bread. Not during unleavened bread.
And you shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yahweh, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yahweh. Then you shall sacrifice one kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings.
All right, so you notice you're seeing a lot of, bulls cut and goats and this and that and blood. You've seen a lot of bloodshed. This is what we were freed of from the law of sin and death. So the sacrificial law is the only thing that was put onto a grace period where you either sacrifice a man's life or you sacrifice an animal or you cut, putting blood over your door. All that is temporarily on grace period. That payment is not due yet. Somebody paid a down payment, an earnest for us, and said, I got that for now. We're not sitting out here cutting no lamb and cutting the throat of some. No, we're not doing that. The perfect sacrifice was already made, but we memorialize these things. We teach our children what happened. Some of us would even eat lamb out of, just memorial, but that wasn't our sacrifice. The Mashiach was our sacrifice. Yeshua, or Yahweh Shai, that was our sacrifice. He was the spiritual sacrifice, the only perfect sacrifice. You can't offer anything better than that. So we're not out here actually doing these sacrifices, but we show up. These are appointed times, and we keep the memorialization. We mark these days and the traditions of these things minus bloodshed.
Verse 20. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahweh. With the 2 lambs they shall be holy to Yahweh for the priest. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it be an holy convocation unto you. You shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not make clean riddance of the corners of your field when you reap. Neither shall you gather any gleaning of your harvest. You shall leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
So notice this is like another holy day. He's like every day is a holy day for the poor people. They get to feast. So this is why we wouldn't have nobody robbing and stealing. We would be robbing and stealing because, listen, if I needed something, I can go in my brother's yard and he left the outside of his field so that I could go in there and eat what I could eat there. I couldn't take it with me, but I could eat at night, grab what I need, or in the daytime, whatever, as long as you didn't just go into the middle of the field and take things. So that automatically shows you everything you have don't belong to you. You should have something in your pocket to give to your brother if he need it. But he shouldn't be going all the way deep in your pockets and grabbing all the bill money and all that. That's the middle of that field. Now the outside, let me pull out what I can pull out, reach in the change of what I pull out. That's already belongs to them. But we assume, now I don't want to give it to that brother. He might be buying drugs with it or something. Or, this, that. Look, it don't matter. What you have don't all belong to you. And that faith in doing that, y'all gonna bless you. So that means, guess what? You're gonna be down to your last one day and be like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. I got kids hungry. I don't get paid till Tuesday. And then something just come through for you. Just look, money just show up in your bank account. Just weird stuff will just happen. Why? Because when you had it, you took care of other people, and that's the system. So if we were all like that, we would never be without, because we'd be taking care of one another. Y'all would just bless us infinitely if we get out that poverty mindset. But when we were poor, we didn't have that mindset. But we got a little bit of money with integration, and now we don't want to help each other.
Just a scripture to go along with what you're saying. But Proverbs 19:17 says, "He that has pity on the poor lends unto YAH, and he that which he has given will he pay him again."
Right.
And that which he has given will he pay him again. That's
right. And Brother Linnell, I know some brothers still do that. They do actually do the sacrifices, but in doing the sacrifice, it has to be done lawfully. If you're going to do the letter of the law, he who does the law has to do all of the law. So you have to do it all the way if you're going to do the animal sacrifices, which means you have to have a Levite who is the son of Aaron to be able to do that type of sacrifice. And we don't have the paperwork or all that. And you have to be in the temple. You have to be, the priests have to be separated for a certain amount of days, and there's a certain process that has to be done. Now, I'm not saying that they're not doing that. I'm just saying, how could they do that? We don't have that set up. So this is why we can't do it properly. And if you did do that properly, is that in lieu of Mashiach? Because how are you going to sacrifice a better sacrifice than Mashiach? Was his sacrifice, was he not the Passover lamb? So I would have to, understand from their perspective is, are they believers in the Mashiach? Do they believe he was the Passover lamb, or the old covenant? There's some certain things that I would have to understand to properly view how they're doing those sacrifices. All right, go ahead, brother.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 23. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall you have a Shabbat, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. All
right, so verse 24 is talking about teruah, trumpets. So the Hebrew word for trumpets is teruah, which is H8643. Teruah, Teruah, and that's clamor. That's an acclamation of joy or a battle cry. Especially trumpets as an alarm, so a blowing of trumpets. So you shall have a teruah on the 1st day of the 7th month. So if you look at your holy day calendar, your new months, you have it there where it says, what day do you have for the first, for the Rosh Hashanah for the 7th month?
September 8th.
Right. So night of September 8th. That is your trumpets, because that's the 1st day of the 7th month. And it says that you will have a Sabbath. So if you look, a Sabbath of rest, you'll see the word that's used is not Sabbath. It's Sabbathon. That word that I told you about is H7677. Sabbathon, which is Shabbathon, and that's a Sabbatism or special holiday rest. So it's letting you know you have to rest that day. You can't work that day. But it's not the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day is the 7th day of the week. So when it says Sabbath, when it's talking about Shabbat, it's only going to use the word Shabbat. But when it's talking about a Shabbathon, a holiday, a holy day, a festival day that's not on the 7th day, it's going to use the word Sabbathon. So you need to have your 7th month, your trumpets properly to get the rest of the holy days. If you don't have your trumpets properly, you don't have your new month of the 7th month properly, that means you're going to mess up your atonement. You're going to mess up your unleavened bread. And atonement, the holiest day of the year. So you got to have the 7th month start properly. All right, go ahead, brother.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 25. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
So look at that word for servile so that there's no confusion. So when it says no servile work, what you can do, that means, you spilled your milk on the ground. Oh, can't clean it up. No servile work. Is that what that means? That's what some people will take it that far. They won't wash the dishes, the laundry funky, whatever. Hey, listen, it's the Shabbat. I can't work. Now, should you wait for that day to try to do that work? Absolutely not. You're supposed to rest. But if you need to handle something around your house, all right, so no servile. It is abodah, which is H5656. That's work of any kind, bond servant, labor, ministering, office, service, tillage, use, work, rot. So on this type is of any kind, work of any kind, bondage, bond servant, effect, laboring, ministering, office. So when you're doing service or servitude, you're serving somebody. You're doing work for somebody, a work of any kind, bondage, bond servant, that type of stuff. If you need to wash your dishes, wash your dishes. You're not washing. Now, if you're gonna go to a restaurant and wash dishes on that day, no, that's different. You do it. That's work. You're doing it for somebody. That's bond servant. That's a different type of work. Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 26. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, also on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
All right. So again, you need to know when the 7th month starts. So if the 7th month starts on the 8th of September, the night of the 8th, then what is the Day of Atonement?
It's the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not?
Mm-hmm.
The 10th day of the 7th month?
2 Ruahs the 8th, right?
Right.
So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 will be what day? 8th is the first day. So you have to count that, because that's day 1. That night starts day 1.
The 16th?
Y'all just count. The 8th is the first day.
17th.
Right. 17. See, you see how easy it is to mess that up? It's very subtle. So when you do this, count it several times, because it's so easy to make just a slight, simple mistake.
You say 9 days or 10 days?
10 days. It's the 10th.
Okay. And that's going to be...
Okay, so a brother asked, is it a sin to work on the Sabbath day? Absolutely, you're in transgression. Sin is transgression of the law. It is a rest day. You are not permitted to work. Now, those are the laws of the land. Now, we are not in our land, and we are not able to enforce that with the same rigor as we would in our own land. So here, when you think the slaves could say, oh, I'm going to keep Shabbat off. Nah. So if you're in a position where you're in bondage, you're in slavery where you don't have a choice. If you don't work on that day, nobody's going to be able to eat. And you just haven't built up enough faith yet to take that leap. It's understandable. We all, we grow. That's something that you'd have to repent from. And it says, YAH leads a man unto repentance. So, yes, you would be in. But at the end of the day, it's not apples to apples of being in our land. In our land, there's no excuse for that. Here, we're struggling. We're poor people. It's a different situation. But if YAH gives you an opportunity where you can take less money with another job, but you got your Shabbat off, you better take it. As long as you can feed your family. And then what you'll see is he's going to bless you in that. All All right, and you said what Dawid did on the Shabbat. You'd have to comment on what you're referring to. All right, go ahead, brother. So remember, the 17th at night, that is the 10th day. So your fast would start on the 17th at night and would take you all the way into the beginning of the 18th, which would be the night, starting the 18th.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 28. And you shall for Yahweh your Elohim, for whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people.
All right, so the word for atonement is Kippur. Kippur, which is H3725. Kippur. So you know that same Jewish term, Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. Kippur is Kippur. And that's from H3722, expiation or atonement. So it's forgiveness, is being reconciled for your sin, your transgressions. Now, it's funny that it clearly says that this is the 10th day of the 7th month. But somehow in Jewish calendar, that's the new year after that. That doesn't make any sense. How is that? You're in the 7th month. So there's only 7 months in a year? There's a year that only has 7 months? That don't make any sense. It's not according to Torah. That's Jewish tradition. Now, I guarantee that's tied to some other kind of ritual that they got going on. That has nothing to do with what YAH gave us in here. If you got some other book that's telling you different, that's not what's in Torah. And this is our basis. This is our schoolmaster right here. Okay, he said when he ate the show. Okay, so you're talking about when Dawid ate the showbread, which was for the priests. Well, first of all, Dawid was anointed because he was a king. And then second of all, we are priests forever under the order of Melchizedek. This is why he was able to eat. That's referenced in the New Testament of how Dawid ate the showbread. Because he said, I testify, you are a priest forever under the order of Melchizedek. So that's why we're a kingdom of priests. It didn't say we're a tribe of priests. A priest is an officiator. And priests did different things. Some priests, all they did was fetch water. Some priests would cut the neck of the animal. Another priest would start the fire. You know, they did different things. Some priests, all they did was sing of the Levites. So priests had different jobs. The Levites were chosen to do for the house of Yah. But we are priests as well. We are witnesses. We have testimony that has to be done. So we have our own job as priests as well. That's why I said we are a kingdom of priests, not just the tribe of priests. That's how he was able to eat the showbread lawfully. So if you're a priest, you have to conduct yourself like a priest. That means people should seek the law at your mouth. You know, that means that you should be keeping yourself set apart and holy. You shouldn't be doing the same things everybody else do. This is why you dress like a priest. The priest uniform was given to us by the Levites, was the example of the priesthood. This is why we cover our heads. This is why we wear, certain garments. But we're not the ones that are doing the sacrifices and have to wear the migba'ah, which is the mitre, or not the mitre, the big turban that the high priest would wear. That's for the sons of Aaron wear that. We don't do that.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 30. And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Shabbat of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall you celebrate your Shabbat.
All right, so that confuses people. In the 9th day of the month at even. So the 9th day of the month at even, when it's even in between the 9th and the 10th month, from that point on, from even to even is when you're keeping your atonement. So that's basically just from night to night, from the 9th all the way into the next night.
The 9th at even is the 10th.
Start the 10th day. Right. But it confuses people because our days are flipped backwards. You have to understand the day starts at night. So when you're 9th at even, the way we think is like, okay, it's going to be the 9th day starting. Nah, we don't need to say the 9th day even that way. We just say the 10th, we just say the 9th day. So what the reason they said that is letting you know it's not just like people would try to say the Sabbath day is only during the daytime because it's called Sabbath day. Well, the same day for a whole calendar day is the same word for just the daytime. Yom. It's for both. So here they're saying, now you're not playing around with it. This is the whole time, from even to even. You're going to go that whole day. And that's right, brother Yafi. That's what that ish is. Ish is, kind of, you saying that you're Jewish, they're letting you know what they are. They're kind of Jew. But just because they do it improperly, we shouldn't be following them. We should be setting an example and doing it properly and letting them know this is how it's done. So that those with a pure heart that really trying to, worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, then they would have a good example to follow, but they don't. So they're just doing what their ancestors taught them.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 33. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, saying, The 15th day of the 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh.
All right, so the 17th of September, that's the 10th day. So you go 10, 11, 12, all the way to 15th, and that will give you the first day of Sukkah, of Tabernacles. What day do we get?
23rd? 24.
Remember, 17th. So this is how you count. So start with the 17th. That's 10. So the next day will be 11, the 18th. The next day will be 19, 12, all the way till you get to 15. And see what day you're going to get to. You got to make sure you count the same way every time. Because if you count inconsistently, you're going to mess up.
27.
Right. Absolutely. So you just got to get a system because, you're counting different ways. Sometimes you're saying, oh, it's the daytime portion. Other times you're saying it's the nighttime portion. And it's confusing you. So however you're going to count. If you want to count using the daytime portion, that's fine. You just count using the daytime portion, just the night before starts it. You can count that way. But I just start with the night. The night of starts everything. That way I know it's just consistent all the way around when I count. So however you do it, as long as you're counting it properly and getting to the 22nd. So the 22nd is the 15th, and we know that it's for 7 days. It's a feast. But see, this one you got to keep reading because there's a last great day added to it, which is 8 days. So keep reading.
On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
All right, so that means on the 22nd, that's another day that you have to take off the night of the 22nd if you work at night, or the daytime of the 23rd if you work in the day. Go ahead.
7 days shall you offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein.
All right. So on the 8th day, so on that 8th day, that's when you have to go ahead and have a Sabbathon. You can't work that day. So this is 8 days. So 8 days would be, if you start on a Tuesday night, it would end on a Tuesday night because that's 8 days. If it's 7 days, it's always going to end like the night before the same weekly day. So the 29th would be the 8th day.
Leviticus and drink offerings, everything upon his day, beside the Shabbat. Also in the 15th day of the 7 days, on the first day shall be a Shabbat, and on the 8th day shall be a Shabbat. And you shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days. And you shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites,
All Israelite born shall dwell in booths for 7 days, and they're supposed to decorate it with the goodly trees and the palms and everything like that. And
generations may know that I made the children of Yasharal to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And Moshe declared unto the children of Yasharal the feast of Yahweh.
okay, so he declared unto Yasharal the appointed times, the Moadim of Yah. So verse 44, we're going to look at that same word for the feast of Yah and see what he used. He used the Moadim, H4150. These are the appointed times of Yah. So here's the beginning. All these are your appointed times. End. Those are your appointed times. Anything outside of this is not Yah's appointed time. Doesn't mean that it's demonic or pagan. It just means this is not Yah's appointed time. You can't stick it in Yah's holy days. It's not his days. But they have other days like dedication is a day, but that's not Yah's Moadim. That's a man said that. That's our culture. We did that. We set that up. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You just can't stick that in Yah's Moadim because, again, that's not in his Torah commandment. So that's how you calculate the holy days. If you start your month differently, if you're using the, maybe the equinox versus the equilux or whatever, it would be the same principle. It's just based upon when your first day of the month begins. So as we get closer to the holy days, we'll start to go into what each holy day means, what it represents, how we keep that specific holy day, especially when you go into Passover. There's quite a confusion in that week between Passover and leavened bread and first fruits. We're going to go deeper into that, and we're going to see how the holy days match with the death and resurrection of the Mashiach and how it lines up and how we are able to show that Yahshua kept the holy days different than the Jewish people kept. Why? Why is that? Because he was using a different calendar. That's why he would give us clues like, are there not 12 hours in a day? We know there's 24 hours in a day, but 12 hours in a day would let you know you're at an equilux. That's probably the last day of the year. It's also letting you know, are we not running out of time? Are we almost at the end of time? So, before we close, we have any last questions or comments?
Offerings. Could you expound on that and what that would look like for us if we're memorializing these feast days?
Sure. Again, where the offerings went to, they went to the priest. Priest kept it. Now, when we were farming, we gave produce. That's what we had because that was our increase. That was our fruit. So you ask yourself, what is your fruit now? Hopefully it's not just money. If your fruit is money, you need to give your money. You need to give it towards Yah. And you can either give it to your priest of your assembly and he can, make sure things are taken care of, or you can just go directly to the poor and give the poor or help people that need help. That's giving it to Yah because Yah is the one who needs that. Yah is the one who needs Yah's not the one who needs it. His people need it. Mm-hmm. So being that his people need it, that's how you give it to Yah. You give it to his people when they need it. Mm-hmm. So that's the offering. So that could be your time. That could be, your artwork. That could be your reading. That could be your teaching. That could be, sharing your resources, donating money, whatever. But it's of you, the best of you, what Yah has given you. The increase that Yah has given you should go back, whatever that is. And if many of us have gardens. Plant your garden. Get the best of your first fruits and give it away to the poor. Give it to the people that need it. That's how you give it unto Yah. You give to people that can't give it back to you. That's how you get blessed. That's how you truly give away. And then we have also, when we get closer to atonement, you got people that on atonement, believe that they're supposed to go out there and feed poor people on the Day of Atonement because they're misinterpreting Isaiah chapter 58. So when we get in there, we'll go over that as well. Because again, you're supposed to afflict yourself and apologize for your sins. And that's all of Yasharal. So how can you go to a poor person of Yasharal who got sins just like everybody else and take away his opportunity the one day for him to get all his sins reconciled? If anybody, he really need to be heard by the Most High because he's struggling the most. Is he not? Does not Yahshua say the poor will be with you always? Mm-hmm. So it didn't have to be fed that day. He gonna be hungry the day before and likely hungry the day after. But if you can go out there and say, I'm giving people food on there, then you can justify eating on atonement. That to me, that's what I feel like. That's what that's leading to. You're just gonna eat on atonement and say, well, I fed poor people or whatever.
So the offerings that we can do is offerings of our fruit, whatever it is, to Yah's people or our neighbors, and does that also include just the repentance and having a contrite heart and all of that?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the spiritual aspect of that, right?
Okay.
The memorializing is the the physical offering, like because y'all don't need your stuff. Like I said, the people need that. That's who it went to. That's what that was for. It was just y'all giving you excuse to do the right thing. Oh. But the real offering, like you said, is of the spirit, a humble and contrite spirit. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Those type of things. Confirmation that, yeah, you're right. I am going to continue this covenant and do what I need to do. Okay, it says the Mashiach was crucified on the night of Pesach. That's a trick question. That's a very trick question because Yahshua kept a different Pesach than they kept. He kept with the Pesach with the disciples, the Moadim, on the day that was different than the day that they were keeping their Pesach. Because why would they be rushing to take him down off of the torture state? Because the was coming. People think that they're talking about the Sabbath day was coming, but that don't add up. It could be the seventh day of the week coming, because if he was killed the day before Shabbat, that would be Friday. How are you going to rise on the first day if he was killed on Friday? The numbers don't add up. That's Christianity. That don't add up. So we know that's not what they were talking about with Sabbath. They were talking about the Sabbathon. They were talking about unleavened bread. They were keeping it a different day than Yahshua. That's how Yahshua was able to have the Last Supper, what they call the Last Supper, which was Pesach. And if you don't believe that he was keeping Pesach, you can go read it. He said, where should I go to prepare the Passover for? So he's telling them that he was keeping it. All right. No, it wouldn't be the 14th day, brother. Not according to the timeline. All right. So that's all we're going to do today. Let's go ahead and close in prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings and sisters pray with their heads covered. Face the east. Brother West, can you close us out in prayer, please?
Abba Father, Yah, Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Yeshach, and Yaakov. We thank you, Father Yah, for this class, the information that went out tonight, Father Yah. We pray that you continue to guide us, Father Yah, and as we know that your new year is coming up in a few months, Father Yah. Please help us prepare our hearts, Father Yah, so that we may try our best, Father Yah, to memorialize your holy days, Father Yah, and act in concordance with your holy days, Father Yah, as best we can, Father Yah. And I ask you, Father Yah, please guide all those who are seeking you, Father Yah, and reveal your ways unto them, Father Yah, and help them act your ways, Father Yah. Help them embody your ways, Father Yah. As the world continues to
go down this path that is going, Father God. We pray that you help prepare us all, Father God, for the things you have in store, Father God, and help us all prepare our hearts to usher in your kingdom, Father God. In Yeshua HaMashiach's holy mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.